Spider-Man, Spider-Man, does whatever a spider can.
Your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. He's been crawling walls and smashing balls for over 50 years. Along with one of the greatest rogues gallery this side of Batman, he has become a staple in our modern day mythology. We are going to go back to 1991 and discuss the Little Scene Sega arcade coin-op. What was the original plan behind Spider-Man appearing on the Sega Mega Drive and Master System? So reload your web shooters and pay attention to your Peter Tingle, because this is the history of the Spider-Man arcade game. The Amazing Spider-Man made his debut in Amazing Fantasy number 15 back in 1962. A lot of Spider-Man's real-world appeal was that he was a teenager with real-world problems. He was picked on, he had money troubles, he had to worry about his grades. This was a lot different than what DC was putting out at the time with their picture-perfect heroes in their picture-perfect world. In 1982, released by Parker Brothers, was Spider-Man for the Atari 2600, the very first Spider-Man video game. You control Spidey as he attempts to stop the Green Goblin who has planted bombs at the top of skyscrapers. You have to make your way to the top, all the while avoiding the criminals in the windows and before the bombs go off. There is a time limit though, as your web shooters will slowly deplete, so you have to hurry. This was one of my absolute favorite games for the Atari 2600. Now, I don't know when I'll get to talk about this game again, so let me just show you the classic Parker Brothers commercial that I can still recite line for line.
I'll blow this town to smithereens! Time bomb! Try to get up there in time, Spider-Man!
Watch me clean my web, Goblin!
Watch yourself fall, Silk Slinger!
Gotta stop the bombs in time!
If I don't get you, webhead, my diagnosis will!
Holy Hannah!
And you're running out of fluid!
Is this more action than even Spider-Man can handle?
Spider-Man, a video game from Parker Brothers, the ones to beat.
In 1989, the higher-ups at Sega were looking for a mascot for its next-gen 16-bit console. They wanted to move away from Alex Kidd to something that was a bit more edgy and teen-friendly, and they looked no further than the Amazing Spider-Man. They initially approached Marvel about obtaining a license for Spider-Man after he made a cameo in the game Revenge of Shinobi. Sega of Japan took notice as to how popular the character was and thought perhaps this was the type of edge they needed. Plans were put into place to extend the partnership with games not only for the Sega Mega Drive, but also the Master System and the arcade. Midway through 1990, one of the higher-ups at Sega of Japan thought that spiders were a bit too creepy and would send the wrong message. So plans were scrapped as far as Spider-Man the mascot were concerned. Spider-Man the video game was released in 1991 by Sega. Running on the System 32 hardware, this was one of the first side-scrolling beat-em-ups that would use the superscalar technology. Other System 32 games of note were Radmobile, which featured the very first appearance of Sonic the Hedgehog dangling from the mirror, and also Outrunners, which was the third game in the Outrun franchise. This was a 4-player beat-em-up that sees you control Spider-Man, Submariner, Black Cat, or Hawkeye, as you attempt to retrieve a mystical artifact that was stolen by the Kingpin. When I played this game back in 1991, the first thing I asked myself was, Hawkeye? Submariner? Where were the A-list players at? Unbeknownst to me, Acclaim Software had a license for a lot of the Marvel characters, so only the lesser-known superheroes were available for use. The game opens with a nice cutscene showing Spider-Man witnessing a robbery in progress. You have an attack button and a jump button, and by pressing both buttons together, you will pull off your signature move. There are 4 levels in total, the first section being a side-scrolling beat-em-up with nice detailed graphics. Halfway through, the game zooms out and switches to a standard platformer. While this game may not have much in the way of A-list superheroes, the game's villains more than make up for it. Almost the entire Spider-Man Rogues Gallery has shown up to take down Old Webhead. The list of villains include Scorpion, Venom, the Lizard, Electro, Green Goblin, the Kingpin, Sandman, the Hobgoblin, and Doctor Doom. You start out with 400 hit points, which slowly degrades as you make your way through the game. There are various health power-ups throughout the game, and you can always resort to dropping more quarters in for additional energy. The game is a lot of fun to play, but it's also very hard. I can recall playing this at our local movie theater with a friend of mine who was a big fan of Spider-Man. I tapped out after dropping $4 into the game. He went on and dropped another 20 just to beat it. If he would have waited 20 years, he could have played it on MAME. And now we come to my favorite part of the video, the conversions. But unfortunately, there aren't any. Apparently Sega thought that the Mega Drive wasn't powerful enough to handle this conversion. A 32X version was planned, but was later scrapped. It has never been released on any compilation, and it's one of the great arcade games that never saw a home release. Unless you find this game out in the wild, the only way to play this game is on MAME. Now sure, there have been better Spider-Man games that have come along since then, especially Spider-Man for the PS4, but this game is a no-nonsense 4-player beat-em-up classic. It's always best to play with as many friends as possible, so if you have 4 friends available, be sure and check this game out. If you like this video and want to support me on Patreon, please visit the link below. Also, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to my content. It's the only way my channel can grow. Thanks for watching.